Hey gang, Stan with Intentional Farms. Today is Sunday, August 24th, I think. Just got done rolling up a wire to give the steers their new pasture. I give them their pasture for today. We are, even though it's just the 24th of August, it's either the weatherman and the weather forecast playing a cruel trick on us. We're expecting a major cool down tomorrow. Today was pretty decent. The last couple weeks have been ridiculously hot, humid, muggy, miserable. Haven't taken time to do a video because I haven't really wanted to spend any more time out here than necessary. Not really any, well, there's lots of huge things to announce, but we'll probably update those in a later video with more detail. I will spill the beans a little bit, so different videos, kind of different topics, small mentions, all coming together, and maybe this one little update. But Tabitha, the young lady that the Lord put in our path, is now on site. She's living in the little farmhouse that was here when we bought this place. She is in charge of the pig breeding, the farrowing, and that side of things. She's a huge help. We just took a little bit of time and we're out of town, and she was able to manage rotating the sheep and rotating the cows. Nobody missed a lick. So she is on site. I think we'll probably do a little bit more of a detailed video with just specifically her as this continues to materialize and we get a better update and idea what things look like going forward. Talk about expectations. I think it'd be good to document that. So this particular pasture is what I've referenced in other videos as east of the creek, simply because it's east of the creek and it's easy to identify that way. So 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 2020, we bought it. It was 21 when we actually started grazing animals. This pasture was basically one giant blackberry briar. The first time I brush hogged it, I honestly didn't know if I was going to find a sinkhole, a cemetery, or an abandoned car. It was just that grown up. So early on we spread lime. The last 2 years we have broadcast C90. That's the only amendments that we have brought in. Other than that, we have been rotating our animals through here, rotationally grazing them, trying to give plenty of rest. This year is new in the fact that this paddock is creeping up on, I'd have to look at my grazing records, but it's probably creeping up on 55 to 60 days of rest. And initially it was blackberries and just unedible stuff. A lot of Johnson grass, but crabgrass and cheatgrass, the stuff that's just not very palatable to the animals. So this year I have got forage out here that I've never seen. I've got more than I've ever seen. We had a little bit of rain through the month of August, not out of whack, not a lot, but not nothing. And there is so much grass over here on this pasture that you can really see what the impact and the rotational grazing is starting to do. One of the things that, I mean, it's hard to see on camera, but those cows are in grass that's easy, knee-high all the way around. You can't see it, but right in here, right behind that red cow, up to that white post, this was yesterday's paddock. This is the new stuff. We've got so much grass that we're leaving that much for the sheep. This is about the same stocking rate. It's a different class, but between the steers and the sheep, I'm stocked about the same as what I have been in the 3 previous years. If you use the calculations of 5 to 7 sheep per animal unit and then add those to the steers, we're right at what we've ever had. I've got more grass now than what I've ever seen over here, going into fall, going into this cooling off season where we're going to be able to grow some serious stockpile. So excited to see what that looks like. One of the things that I just recently learned, if you're into sheep and you haven't read the book, The Practical Shepherd by Abram Bowerman, you can get it on Stockman Grass Farmer. If you haven't read that book, you're cheating yourself. There's so much good information in there that you're doing yourself a disservice by not reading it. But one of the things that I just reread in his book as I was thumbing through it the other day, he's talking about, and it was in two different places. I have to go back and find the second reference to it. But he mentioned nettle. If you know anything about nettle, nettle is a miserable plant. I don't know if I can get in close enough to see. See the spikes on the bottom of the stems, on the leaves? The only thing I've seen eat it is grasshoppers. He mentioned in his book that sheep have the ability to store vitamin A and carotene for 4 months. That's what helps them become disease and parasite resistant and fight infection. He also mentioned in that book that those little seed pods, they're like baby tomatoes. When they get ripe, they turn yellow. Those are getting really close. He mentioned that the sheep will eat those berries, and I didn't believe him, so I had to come out here and look. And sure enough, yesterday when we turned the sheep into their paddock right over there, I watched them. They'll go in there and turn their head sideways. They get underneath that leaf, they grab those berries, and they pull and pluck. And then the whole plant is basically turned upside down, and they are mowing down every one of those, I don't know what you call them. They look like horse nettle tomatoes to me. They honestly look like a baby tomato. Here's one of our little ewe lambs from this year. Tried to climb over. Ouch, got shocked. That's fun. What do you think, girlfriend? Must be one of our little bottle lambs. They're the only ones that we can actually approach. The rest of them will all keep their distance. So green ear tags for the ewes this year. Blue ear tags for the ram lambs. That way when we start sorting ram lambs to go to market, we don't have to worry about which ones are keeping. We don't have to look at the numbers. They are essentially color coded. So I want to find some of that nettle. And let's just look around and see if we can find any of those nettle tomatoes. I'm looking. There's some nettle plant. There's a nettle plant that's been turned upside down. Oh, looks like they missed one right there. This paddock, we walked it intentionally before we put them in here to see how many of those berries there were in here. And there were a lot. They were loaded down. So let's just look just a little bit further. If you're thinking that's a little ewe lamb from this year. If you're thinking she looks pretty ragged, it's because some of them still haven't knocked off the cockleburs. We had some cockleburs in a pasture a couple weeks ago. A couple weeks ago. And some of them it's just like Velcro. They have yet to shed them off. A lot of them are looking really good. Putting on some pretty good condition. This year we are taking all of our ram lambs through the winter, and we will actually market our lamb about June of next year. So right after lambing season for next year, we're going to use the ram lambs to help get through the spring flush, get them some good condition, and then we are going to process them. And I'm looking at, there's a pretty good clump of that nettle plant. I don't see a single berry, pod, whatever. Somebody smarter than me can tell me what they're supposed to be called. There's another one. There's some more. Look at over here. There's some more. There's a pretty good clump of this nettle plant right here. And I don't see a single one that they missed. They are actually eating something that I had no idea anything would eat. There's a whole grouping of it. Here's one laying on the ground. See if I can pick it up and show it to you. So that's what they look like. That one had fallen off the ground. That one looks like a baby watermelon. Camera focus. Oh, Waylon. I don't have any idea, but somewhere in that book he said that those things are high in vitamin A and keratin, and the sheep can store that up for up to 4 months. When they lose the ability to eat green forage as winter comes on, they end up, just noticed this. There's a few of those berries right there. Wonder why they haven't eaten those yet. Proximity, maybe? There's another group of nettle plants that have no berries on them. Hi, Waylon. Smile for the camera. Yep, smile for the camera. Good boy. Anyway, pretty excited about this. Excited about, there is a hedge apple tree, Osage orange tree. We've got some of those that grow. I have been brush hogging behind the sheep to knock down nasty stuff like this, some cedar tree sprouts, some rose bushes, and the blackberry briars. But they have been in here, they've been in here 24 hours. We moved them yesterday. So that's what they'll do to an Osage orange tree. That thing was fully leafed. They are gaining nutrition. I don't know how you eat something off of a tree branch that has that kind of spiny thorns on it. But they get in there and they go to work. I've just seen I believe it's a multiflora rose bush. That's our other little ewe bottle lamb. This is what they're doing to a rose bush. That bush was big and had all kinds of foliage on it, forage on it, and they have gone through it. The biggest reason I'm brush hogging is because they don't eat the stems. Those rose bushes, blackberry briars, and osage, anything that's pokey like that sure makes it difficult to navigate that poly net when we use it. So, and that's what we keep our sheep in. So we are tickled with how this is going. The rest of the ewes are in pretty good shape. Chowing down, putting on some condition. We did have to process a ewe today that during lambing she was attempting to prolapse. We didn't know anything about it, so we loaded her up, took her to the vet. They did an emergency C-section. They charged me $700 and handed me a dead lamb. So we realized right then and there that she wasn't going to get a second chance. We attempted to catch her when we loaded lambs earlier for processing, and we couldn't catch her this spring. So we had planned on getting her at some time this fall, but we noticed that she wasn't doing well. She still had good condition, but it looks like her prolapse was not. There's several of those lambs that are covered in cockleburrs. It looked like the prolapse wasn't going to get any better, so we didn't want to lose her, so we did go ahead and harvest her. We got her in the cooler hanging, chilling out. Not necessarily my favorite sport, but it is something we need to do. I didn't want her to die and just be wasted, but was very pleased with the condition that she had put on from was pregnant. Of course, she didn't get drawn down when she was nursing because she didn't feed a baby, but she put on some good condition. She's going to be a pretty tasty lamb, pretty tasty ewe. But that is one of our good ewes. A couple of her ram lambs. They're doing good. Everybody's fat and happy, including me. So I guess that's a good place to end it. They're working on that blackberry briar over there. They will get darn near everything except that very center. They don't like to force their way into it. They'll eat everything they can reach from the outside, and they'll push a little bit. I suppose if I left them in there long enough and made them eat it, I know they would, but I don't like to push them that hard. I like to keep them moving, keep them on fresh grass, give them my ground a rest, give my forage a rest, and I'll get them with the Kagoda. That works pretty good. So, excuse me. Anyway, that's the update for August 2025. Signing off. Have a good evening.